Rapunzel, Grimm's Fairy Tales. There once lived a man and his wife who had long wished for a child, but in vain. Now there was at the back of a house a little window which overlooked a beautiful garden full of the finest vegetables and flowers, but there was a high wall around it, and no one ventured into it, for it belonged to a witch of great might, and of whom all the world was afraid. One day when the wife was standing at the window and looking into the garden, she saw a bed filled with the finest rampion, and it looked so fresh and green that she began to wish for some, and at length she longed for it greatly. This went on for days, and as she knew she could not get the rampion, she pined away, and grew pale and miserable. Then the man was uneasy, and asked, "What is the matter, dear wife?" "Oh," answered she, "I shall die unless I can have some of the rampion to eat that grows in the garden at the back of our house." The man, who loved her very much, thought to himself, "Rather than lose my wife, I will get rampion, cost what it will." So in the twilight he climbed over the wall into the witch's garden, plucked hastily a handful of rampion, and brought it in to his wife. She made a salad of it at once, and ate of it to her heart's content. But she liked it so much, and it tasted so good, that the next day she longed for it thrice as much as she had done before. If she was to have any at rest, the man must climb over the wall once more. So he went into the twilight again, and as he was climbing back, he saw, all at once, the witch standing before him, and he was terribly frightened, as she cried with angry eyes, "How dare you climb over into my garden like a thief, and steal my rampion? It shall be the worse for you." "Oh," answered he, "be merciful rather than just. I have only done it through necessity. For my wife saw your rampion at the window, and became possessed with so great a longing that she would have died if she could not have had some to eat." Then the witch said, "If it is all as you say, you may have as much rampion as you like, on one condition. The child that will come into the world must be given to me. It shall go well with the child, and I will care for it like a mother." In his distress of mind, the man promised everything. And when the time came when the child was born, the witch appeared, and giving the child the name of Rapunzel, which is the same as rampion, she took it away with her. Rapunzel was the most beautiful child in the world. When she was 12 years old, the witch shut her up in a tower with the midst of a wood, and it had neither steps nor door, only a small window above. When the witch wished to let her in, she would stand below and cry, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Rapunzel had beautiful long hair that shone like gold. When she heard the voice of the witch, she would undo the fastening of the upper window, unbind the plaits of her hair, and let it down 20 ells below, and the witch would climb up by it. After they had lived thus a few years, it happened that as the king's son was riding through the woods, he came to the tower. And as he drew near, he heard the voice singing so sweetly that he stood and listened. It was Rapunzel in her loneliness, trying to pass away the time with a sweet song. The king's son wished to go into her and sought to find the door of the tower, but there was none. So he rode home. But the song had entered into his heart, and every day he went into the woods and listened to it. Once as he was standing under the tree, he saw the witch come up and listened while she called out, "Oh, Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Then he saw how Rapunzel let down her long hair, and how the witch climbed up by them and went into her. And he said to himself, "Since that is the ladder, I will climb it and seek my fortune." And the next day, as soon as it began to grow dusk, he went into the tower and cried, "Oh, Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." As she let down her hair, and the king's son climbed up it. Rapunzel was greatly terrified when she saw a man had come in to her, for she had never seen one before. But the king's son began speaking so kindly to her, and told her how her singing had entered into his heart, so that he could have no peace until he had seen her herself. Then Rapunzel forgot her terror, and when he asked her to take him for her husband, she saw that he was young and beautiful. She thought to herself, "I certainly like him much better than old Mother Gothel." And she put her hand into his hand, saying, "I would willingly go with you, but I do not know how I shall get out. When you come, bring each time a silken rope, and I will make a ladder. And when it is quite ready, I will get down by it out of the tower, and you shall take me away on your horse." They agreed that he should come to her every evening as the old woman came in daytime. So the witch knew nothing of all this until Rapunzel said to her unwittingly, "Mother Gothel, how is it that you climb up here so slowly, and the king's son is with me in a moment?" "Oh, wicked child," cried the witch, "what is this I hear? I thought I had hidden you from the world, and you have betrayed me." In her anger, she seized Rapunzel by her beautiful hair, struck her several times with her left hand, and then grasping a pair of shears in her right, snap, the beautiful locks lays on the ground. And she was so hard-hearted that she took Rapunzel and put her in a waste desert place, where she lived in great woe and misery. The same day on which she took Rapunzel away, she went back to the tower in the evening and made fast severed locks of hair to the window hasp. And the king's son came and cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Then she let down the hair, and the king's son climbed up, but instead of the dearest Rapunzel he found the witch looking at him with wicked glittering eyes. "Aha!" cried she, mocking him. "You came up for your darling, but the sweet bird sits no longer in the nest, and sings no more. The cat has got her, and will scratch out your eyes as well. Rapunzel is lost to you. You will never see her no more." The king's son was beside himself with grief, and in his agony he sprang from the tower. He escaped with life, but the thorns on which he fell put out his eyes. Then he wandered blind through the wood, eating nothing but roots and berries, and doing nothing but lament and weep for the loss of his dearest wife. So he wandered several years in misery, until at last he came to the desert place where Rapunzel lived with her twin children that she had borne, a boy and a girl. At first he heard a voice that he thought he knew, and when he reached the place from it, which seemed to come, Rapunzel knew him, and fell on his neck and wept. And then her tears touched his eyes, and they became clear again, and he could see them as well as ever. Then he took her into his kingdom, where he was received with great joy, and there they lived long and happily. The end.